I'm going to give you a hot take. I've been marinating on since he hit the season.
Here we go.
And I think I'm going to write it. I'm going to piss off every Charger fan, all 9 of them. Look, is Jim Harbaugh just not a good fit for the current day NFL?
It's That Football Show here on KC Sports Network. Tucker Franklin hanging out with Matt Verderame, brought to you by our partners at Ben Holiday, Bottled and Bond Bourbon, Holiday Distillery. Those folks get us set up right. We appreciate them, whether you like the Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon, like I always keep on my desk, or 360 Vodka, maybe Five Farms Irish Cream as well. They have a lot of different products over there at Holiday Distillery in Weston, Missouri. Please enjoy them responsibly, as we do here on That Football Show. Matt, it's been a minute since we talked about free agency. Nothing a whole lot has happened for the Chiefs, and it's kind of slowed down as a whole. How you doing? How you hanging in there?
Good, thank God, because I've done about 150 grades for Sports Illustrated, and Milton Williams isn't happy with me. But other than that, gave the Pats an F for the signing. I mean, give him an A+ for getting $140 million, not playing 50% of the snaps. Yeah. But hey, listen, let's hope I don't have to interview Milton Williams in a dark alley. Other than that, it's good. It's good. Gardner Minshew, I feel like he's going to be worth the signing for the Chiefs, if for no other reason, because he'll be great for morale.
Incredible.
All-time dude. I got to interview him one-on-one a couple of years ago in Indy when I was at their training camp, and he was brought in to kind of mentor Anthony Richardson, and couldn't have been a better guy. Just thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. Also, I was looking at the quarterbacks last night. You could make a very compelling argument he's the best backup quarterback in the league.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah?
Like Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe? Tyrod Taylor, when he ends up signing somewhere, like a Teddy Bridgewater, he's in that class, he's on that level.
It probably is. Hang on, I got the list of the quarterbacks that have signed places right now. I guess that doesn't really matter a whole lot, but it's like
Kenny Pickett.
It's better than better than Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Better than Mason Rudolph, more Mariota, Brissett. Better than Daniel Jones?
Yeah, I think him over Daniel Jones.
You
could argue it, but I would take him over Daniel Jones.
Hot take. I think Daniel Jones is ass, and he keeps getting swindling teams.
Here, a hot take. I also agree that he's ass, and I think he's going to win that job. Yeah. I think there's going to be a moment in Indy.
What awful process, though, by the way. That process was so infuriating.
They practice in training camp in I believe it's Hatfield, Indiana. Somebody can fact check me on that, but I've been there multiple times. Hatfield, Westfield, Indiana? Something field.
Westfield, I think.
Westfield. Yeah, Westfield. And they practice, it's an aptly named town. It is in a field, okay? It is out in the middle of nowhere in Indiana. And I am pretty confident that there's going to be a point in time where Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard are sitting underneath a tent, just very morose about August 10th, being like, you know what? We're going to have to tell everybody that Daniel Jones is starting. And at that point, there's going to be a long stare into the night. And they're going to realize, man, Anthony Richardson couldn't beat out Daniel Jones. It's over. I think that's coming. I think it's either coming then or it's coming week 3 when Anthony Richardson has no touchdowns and 5 picks in 2 weeks. And they're like, yeah, we got to pull the plug here. I think Daniel Jones is going to get a job. But if you said to me, which is always my litmus test, you got one game to win. You got to pick between those two guys. Who do you want? I think I actually want Gardner Minshew. In theory, I like somebody who's good. But Gardner Minshew as a backup, if Mahomes rolls his ankle and is out 2 games,
yeah,
they can win 2 games with Gardner Minshew.
For sure.
So I don't mind it. By the way, it's hilarious. I did a little bit of reporting. I finally tried to do my job. I know. I'm as shocked as you are. I saw he had a 1-year deal, but the money wasn't out there. So I was texting around because whenever I see the years but not the money, I'm like, all right, so you didn't get a lot of money. If you got a lot of money, that agent would be pumping that out. We're about one off season away from like this tweet has been sponsored by CAA. But
yes,
he got a 1 year deal. Like, all right. So I texted some people with the Chiefs. I'm like, oh, what's the deal here? And they are like, it's offset by the Raiders. We threw some incentives in there. So in other words, the Raiders are paying Gardner Minshew's salary, and the Chiefs just gave him some incentives. The Chiefs are paying him what I would assume is the vet minimum. And then he's getting the rest of his money from the Raiders.
What
and
a
then
deal.
he gets some incentives. I'll tell you right now, man. They play the Raiders Week 18. That game means nothing. You've got to put Minshew out there to beat the team that's paying him.
Oh, the schedule's not out yet, obviously. I think we got to get the schedulers on the phone and be like, hey, listen, look who the backup quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs is. You got to put the Raiders Week 18. It's been the Broncos a lot. The Broncos usually get the Week 18
game. With the Broncos, yeah.
But like, I can't remember the last time I had a Week 18 with the Raiders. I think they're due.
The only time I can think of it, and it wasn't in Week 18 then, it was Week 17, was when Mahomes was his first MVP year. Because that was that DeMarcus Robinson 90-yard touchdown pass.
I was at that game.
Yeah. That was also the most hilarious interception of all time, where Derek Carr threw it to Jared Cook in the flat.
Yeah.
And Jared Cook just wasn't even looking at him. Like, he was just like looking off in the sideline. I forget who the hell it was. Picked it up. It might have been Dan Sorensen. Like, picked it off, just ran 50 yards untouched.
It was Sorensen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorensen.
Right. Like, Broncos, year prior to that, it was the Chargers. Let's get the Raiders in the rotation so Minshew can beat a team that's paying him $7 million this year.
I think it makes only sense. I think they're due. So that would be incredible. Obviously the Chiefs have done some things, but look, we're still waiting for some dominoes to fall in free agency. There's not a ton of names out there. One big name that is out there that actual NFL teams are waiting on Aaron Rodgers to make a decision as he's on a beach listening with, number one, wired headphones. I noticed he probably isn't a Bluetooth guy. Probably thinks Bluetooth will
the government's getting involved somehow.
Right, do something to your brain if you've got Bluetooth headphones, but also wrapped in a towel. I thought that picture hilarious.
Not only hilarious, but so fitting. Yeah. All that was missing was him like clasping a cup of tea with two hands,
blowing on softly.
Yeah, and like knowing that he's listening to like Yanni, like that's all that was missing. Look, man, it's his prerogative, it's his future, or whatever. But like, bro, make a fucking decision. Like, my God, you've known you're going to be a free agent now for a month, and like, let's peel the curtain back a little bit. It's not like these teams didn't let him know they were interested until like Monday at noon. Like, okay, yeah. He's been well aware of the fact that the Steelers. I appreciate that Schefter like took him to task the other day on a podcast. He said, "Make a decision. I want to sleep. It's been 70." Schefter just had it. I'm not quite to Adam Schefter's level of annoyance, but it's like, look, man, just decide what you're doing. Like, it's such a passive aggressive diva thing to do. Like, I just can't decide. I'm so torn. He's like your girlfriend that can't figure out where to go to dinner. And then you're like, all right, hon, how about like, I don't know, you want to go to like Ruth Crit? No. You want to go to TGI Friday? No. And then after like the 8th one, you're like, you have an idea where you'd like to go? How about Olive Garden? You're like, damn it, we just spent an hour going over this. We could have been halfway through the breadsticks by this point. Like, you could have just told me. We didn't have to work this hard to get the Olive Garden. No, that's for our first date, was it? I don't give a damn when the first date was. Where did you want to eat tonight? I feel like that's where we are with Aaron Rodgers. Like, I feel like I can hear Omar Khan, the Steelers GM, calling him up.
Yeah.
And just, of course, he's not going to answer because he's listening to Yanni. So then you get like the voicemail, like, Aaron, it's Omar. Sorry to bother you again. It's the 7th time this week. Listen, we need to know because if Russ signs elsewhere, we're looking at starting Mason Rudolph. Please call us back. And then, like 15 minutes later, Joe Shane calls up and is like, Aaron, it's Joe. Again, if you don't come sign here, I'm getting fired tonight. Like, for the love of God, please let me know. You can just like, Rodgers just sitting there just listening to like Careless Whisper, just, deleting the voicemail, not listening to it. Just like, I'll get around to it in June. Like, I don't know, man. If I were one of these two teams, I'd probably the Giants would think, we're drafting someone. That's it. And the Steelers would be, you know what? Russell Wilson, fine. I'll deal with you again. I don't even care. fine. Come on back. Like, can't take it anymore. Fine. Yeah, but here we are with the never-ending decision.
The Steelers should have signed Justin Fields, in my opinion.
The Steelers, like, so I don't know. Maybe this is, I mean, look, I'm not a GM for a million reasons, but if I were, if somebody made the drastic mistake of making me a general manager, like, I would have called up, like, the Cardinals and just been like, what do you want for Kyler Murray?
Yeah.
What do you want? And I'd call Kyler and be like, look, you come here, we'll outfit this whole damn place for Fortnite and Call of Duty. All right? You'll be able to play it on the Jumbotron. But, like, what is it going to take? Like, you're going to tell me the Cardinals wouldn't take an offer? Like, wouldn't listen?
Yeah.
I feel like the Cardinals wouldn't listen. You know? Like, or could you call up, like, I don't know. Like, hell, we were just talking about it. Maybe call up the Colts. Hey, what do you want for Anthony Richardson? What do you want?
Yeah.
You know, and look, maybe he's just terrible and it doesn't work out fine, whatever. But, like, better than this, in my opinion. I don't know. I mean, the bottom line is if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Steelers, are they a Super Bowl contender?
I don't think so.
No. They can make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they get the right matchup, they win a game. Like, they're not beaten. To me, in the AFC, we went into free agency, and the Chiefs and the Bills and the Ravens are the three best teams in the AFC. And we left free agency, and the Chiefs and the Bills and the Ravens are the best teams in the AFC. Like, they're the only three teams that can get to and win the Super Bowl, period. Those three, that's it. Anybody else, like, got to tell you quietly, if you look at the AFC, kind of sucks. Teams are the only teams that are worth a damn. Like, maybe Denver, if you're a Bo Nix guy. Maybe. Houston has, like, to say that you and me are blocking for Houston is an insult to you and me.
Right.
Who's good in that conference outside of those three teams and, like, maybe sort of Denver? I don't know, the Chargers? We're going to get to the Chargers later, but
We will. We'll get both Denver and the Chargers. We're going to look at kind of what the AFC West has done in free agency. We'll talk about the Chiefs coming up here before the first break. But I do think, Matt, have you ever seen the meme, the illusion of choice meme? It's like two doors with like a cow standing in the middle, actually. And it says like on one side, it's like Russell Wilson, and the other side is Aaron Rodgers. And it looks like it's two separate pathways, but they lead to the same place. And it just says 9-8. Regardless, the Steelers are going to go 9-8, regardless of who the quarterback is. But I want to. There's a point that really got to me Friday morning, when we start to see these contract numbers come in, and you mentioned the Ravens. The Ravens were the team, a team that got into this. The Eagles are a team that is very notorious for doing this, and they just did it. Also, these contracts, coincidentally enough, with two former Chiefs players. Mike Garafolo tweeted this out Monday, or I guess it's Friday. I'm sick in the head. Friday, no. I don't know what day it is. Josh Uche's deal with the Eagles, 1 year, $1.92 million with $1.25 million guaranteed. Okay, not a very big contract, right?
It's barely above like league minimum for a veteran. Yeah,
right. He also has a $750,000 signing bonus. Shout out Josh Uche for getting that check today, and another $500,000 of his base salary. He has another $500,000 in sack incentives, 4 void years added to the limit the cap hit this year. You're telling me you had to add void years to limit the cap hit on a contract that is $1.92 million.
That is the football equivalent of when your buddy buys a car and cannot afford even like a beat up piece of shit used car, and he comes back, got an Audi, drove it right off the lot. You're like, you did what? Like, put it on credit. Like, I wouldn't do it. That's basically what the Eagles do with Josh Uche. Like, Josh Uche is not even getting $2 million, and you had to spread that hit out over 5 years. You were just like, listen, got to put $300K into 2030, or this isn't going to work out. Maybe just don't sign Josh Uche then. Like,
yeah.
Look, in all seriousness, I do think there comes a point the league's going to have to do something about the void years.
You have to.
It's to a juncture where some of these teams are abusing this to such a level that, like when this first started, a lot of teams would put like 1 void year on the contract.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got to 2, and it was like, all right, come on. And then now these teams are like, how about 15? Like, what do we do? It's kind of like, I don't know how familiar you are, anybody in the audience is with this, and I'm a huge loser, so I'm probably the only person alive who's familiar with this. Back in the 70s, the ABA and the NBA were at war with each other. And so the ABA had no money, none. And the NBA obviously had not quite, what they have now, but more than the ABA. So the ABA's way of getting players to sign with them was they basically created annuities for like every guy they signed to any big amount of money. And they would announce the contracts as like huge money, like for back then, like 4 years and like $1 million, right? But that $1 million was in an annuity paid out over like 30 years. And they made it like legal. Like that was how the ABA paid like Julius Erving and George Gert, and that's what they would do. And the NBA wasn't doing that at the time. And then the NBA was like, you know what? Screw it. Give Magic Johnson a 21-year contract. And it just got so out of hand, the leagues ended up finally merging, and Magic Johnson was after the merger. But the point is, the only way that like the ABA was able to stay afloat was just hey, we're going to give this guy $1 million. It's going to be over 30 years in an annuity. The Eagles are about one signing away from a 30-year annuity. Okay, at some point, you got to step in and go, guys, listen. I mean, this is just cap circumvention. I mean, this is blatantly cheating. Yes. I get it. Like, to be fair to Howie Roseman, it is not cheating in the sense like it's allowed.
No, right? Yeah,
but it is clearly cap manipulation to a point that, like, come on. I mean, when you do the next collective bargaining agreement, it's probably time to close up that loophole.
I want to kind of take a step back and, like, if you guys are listening, you're like, void years, what the hell are void years? Let me explain it to you here. This is an AI overview from Google, by the way. Yeah, thank goodness we have an AI overview. And I read it to make sure that it was correct. It is, so that's why I'm going to read it. Void years are extra years added to the end of a player's contract, spread out to spread out the salary cap hit of signing bonuses, allowing teams to manage their cap more efficiently. How it works is it's prorated over the remaining years of the contract. So, like, for example, let's talk about the Uche deal, right? That's a 1-year deal with 4 void years added onto it. So it's spread out over 5 years. So, like, the player's only on the team for 1 year. He's not. It's not a 5-year contract for Josh Uche to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. It is a 1-year contract. He is still on the team for only 1 year. The example that they give is a 2-year contract with 3 void years, is where the signing bonus is spread out over 5 years, but the player will only be on the team for 2 years. This isn't the only team that did it either. Like, teams are starting to catch on to, like, the void year stuff that the Eagles are doing. And DeAndre Hopkins with the Eagles was kind of the same way. This was from Spot Track this morning. 1-year deal, $5 million base value. It's a little bit more than what Josh Uche's deal is. It's all fully guaranteed, in 4 years of void years added onto this 1-year deal for $5 million. Yeah. Hey, you know what? Maybe if you don't have $5 million worth of cap, don't sign him.
Yeah. No, it's ridiculous. It is. Like, I'm all for a good fudging of the rule, but, like, we've gotten to a point where it's like, all right, Howie, listen. I mean,
we've lost the plot, is what's happened.
Yes. Like, they have like $900 million in dead money in 3 years. You know, you're like, it's crazy. Like, somewhere the Saints are like, we've got to stop this. Like, somewhere Mickey Loomis is furious. Speaking of the Saints, while you were saying this, some interesting some draft news broke. So we got 2 competing things going on right now that need to be said. One is, there's a report that the Cowboys are in on Cooper Kupp. And I believe, let me just make sure, it was Adam Schefter, I believe, who said that they're interested in Cooper Kupp. Yes. And it says Kupp's decision on where to sign could come as early as today. This was quote tweeted by Joshua Briscoe, who said, we could all perish in a fiery explosion as early as today. So it's good to know Briscoe's up and at him here at 9:52 after recording this on a Friday. Then Clarence Hill Jr., who's been a Cowboys reporter forever, just tweets out, the Cowboys are not pursuing Cooper Kupp. So all this is going on as my company, Sports Illustrated, I think, just wrote a story and published that, like, oh, the Cowboys are, reportedly interested in Cooper Kupp. So news is everywhere, and yet who the hell knows what's happening?
Did you see what just happened Chiefs-wise?
Did they announce Nick Bolton?
They did announce Nick Bolton. Shout out to the Chiefs for announcing Nick Bolton, homegrown guy. The Chiefs are also signing Bailey Zappi to a 1-year deal.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Oh, man, that room is
Loaded.
awesome. That room's going to be ridiculous.
That is the most insane quarterback room in the league. You have quite possibly the best quarterback ever to play football. And then you have Gardner Minshew and Bailey Zappi. I cannot wait for the Ian Book camp invite to come in. So you got Ian Book, Bailey Zappi, Gardner Minshew, and Chris Olodokin is still on the roster. Olodokin, I don't know how you say it. I just say it like Hadouken. But I just that's a fun quarterback room. That's
great. Room. So also, the reason I brought up the Saints is Tom Pelissero of NFL Network, of course, reporting the NFL Management Council. I need to know who's on that immediately. The NFL Management Council has informed clubs of a recalculation to the 2025 compensatory picks, awarding the Saints a 7th-round selection, removing a 7th-round selection from the Dolphins, and sliding back the Browns and Chargers 7s by 1 pick.
Wow.
Gotta tell you, looks like the league's in the tank for the Saints. If that had happened and the Chiefs had been awarded a pick, there'd be an FBI investigation.
Oh, my God.
Oh, rigged. They didn't win the Super Bowl. Got to give an extra 7. Like, yeah, I just want everybody to know out there the Saints are getting favoritism. They're getting the calls.
Unreal.
Yeah. I'll tell you what it was. Mickey Loomis called up Goodell. I was like, hey, Raj, I'm sick and tired of the Eagles manipulating the cap. That's my corner. And Raj was like, all right, listen.
We got you.
You're not wrong. Calm down. But we can't, the Eagles don't have a comp pick in the 7th. So we're going to screw Miami because God knows they've probably done something illegal in the last 5 years. So we're going to take a pick away from them. Plus, we're not even sure that they're all that invested. We'll take a pick away from them. We'll give it to you. All right. And I feel like that's how that conversation went.
Yeah.
What are the chances Miami doesn't even know that comp pick was taken away till like a day before the draft?
This guy probably has no clue.
Like Mike McDaniel's like, wait, what? The draft's tomorrow. Like I feel like just no, like Stephen Ross isn't even aware there is a draft. It's like
wait,
that's
players. Yeah. All right, let's take a break and then we'll talk about what the Chiefs have done in free agency so far. Spoiler, hasn't changed much since the last time we talked on Wednesday. Who knows if it's changed since the last time we've talked about this and recorded this podcast to the time you're listening to it. Nevertheless, we can't do anything about that. Let's take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story. Like Bryan Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Bryan Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Josh Allen also got 3 void years at the end of his contract. Just came out.
We have to stop this dude. What is going on? I don't think. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt. I think the Chiefs have kind of said or alluded to we're not going to dip into that deal. We're not going to do all that. But at some point, if every team's doing it, you got to be like, well, it's almost a competitive disadvantage for us not to do it.
I know they do it with Mahomes. Mahomes has 2 void years.
Okay. Well,
now,
I just lied.
No, but there's an important distinction there. They will never see those 4 years because they're going to rip his contract up every 3 years, just redo it.
Yes.
But he does have 4 years. I think he's the only guy though.
They don't use them very often. It's very rare for them to use 4 years.
They're paying DeAndre Hopkins $1.8 million on a void year, but I think they inherited that contract from Tennessee.
So
I don't know that they did that. Chris Jones is no void. I don't think anybody else does. Not that I just remember I remember Mahomes that's sticking out because I was like, oh, really? Why is void?
Interesting.
Yeah, I think he's the only guy on the team. If he's not, it's like a real rarity. Yeah, it's it. They don't do that. But now I almost think just for fun, like give Diggs 1 year and $10 million, but put on 9 void years. Like, how many years can they do it before the league's like, hey? Like,
Cut that out.
let's find out. You know, like I want Brett to just send that into the league office. That yeah, it's 1 year and $10 million, but the cap it's $12 because we got void years till he's 65.
So, like, here's the other thing with, like, void years, too. Like, you're like, why would the player agree to this? Like, they usually have more guaranteed money in the void year contracts, and it helps them for, like, other, like, contracts when they go. So, like, if you go and, like, get an extension, you have a void year on it, like, kind of creates some leverage for them to get it done.
Yeah.
But, like, that's why players will be like, okay, yeah, I'll throw some void years on it. But it's very much more beneficial. The scale, if you're looking at the scales of justice, right? The one end, the team end is very firmly towards the bottom, and the player end has a little bit, but it's very, very much team beneficial.
Yes. It's ridiculous. By the way, Cooper Kupp apparently is asking for $15 million a year.
Good luck, Cooper.
Buddy, I gotta tell you, you get that, just scream deal into the phone.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wait around. I wouldn't let him choose to think about it again. I take it immediately. Just me.
I'm also asking for a Bentley to show up in my driveway in other news.
Call Kissel up. By the way, man came through. He's sending me a big KCSN care package in the mail. So soon enough, I'm going to have some swag. Finally, I'm not going to be sitting here like some dope looking like I'm ready to go out to dinner. I'll look forward to that. There may or may not be some holiday bourbon, which I can't confirm or deny because that may be illegal.
No, you're in Illinois, right?
Yes,
I think Illinois is fine. Yeah.
All right, we're good then. All right, yeah. Good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that. Get some swag, rock it on the pickleball court, and just smoke somebody. Big what up? And just drive a ball right into their throat.
Yeah. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
The Royals just announced Alex Gordon to the Hall of Fame. That makes sense. The Royals Hall of Fame, not the
very, very brief second. I was like, wait, the Baseball Hall of Fame?
No.
I was like, I like Alex Gordon, baby. No. You were overstepping a little bit. We were having this conversation the other day.
We were having that. Yeah. That's too bad that wasn't recorded. Was it recorded? I don't remember.
It's and honestly, for about 12 different people who were in the Hall of Fame, let's be thankful it wasn't.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Look, the bottom line is, all right, my big capstone goal in my career, I've had 2 of them. One is literally very gratefully come true working at Sports Illustrated. The other one, I want to be a Pro Football Hall of Fame voter. Like, that's like the last, like, that's, I want to do that. I'm like, want to cover the Super Bowl, want to work at SI, got into all those things. I want to vote for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I'll tell you right now, my first order of business is standing on the table like that seagull in the meme where he just like his head's all the way back, getting ready to scream. Jerome Bettis is coming out of the Hall of Fame. It is a travesty to the game that we all love that he's in the Hall of Fame. And I'll tell you something right now. He is in the Hall of Fame because he was beloved and he was the boss and everybody loved the boss.
Cool nickname.
When you think of Jerome Bettis, the play that comes to mind is him fumbling the ball in Indianapolis. And if Nick Harper runs in any general direction other than right at Ben Roethlisberger, okay, who credit to Roethlisberger, by the way, it's a great play. But, like, if he runs in any direction, it's a touchdown. And the Colts win that game, and that's how the bus finally just breaks down and goes off the field into the shame and the mire that is the end of your career in that fashion. Yeah. They end up winning the Super Bowl in his hometown, and we got to listen to the whole, like, the bus, this is the last stop for the bus. And then he goes to the Hall of Fame. If you ever look at Jerome Bettis' actual career, it is a travesty that he's in the Hall of Fame. Like, seems like a super nice guy, God bless him, but like as far as being an actual deserving Hall of Famer, it is disgusting. I am so annoyed by it. Guy played 13 years. and was really, like, to his credit, was like really, really good as a rookie.
Yeah.
And then had 2 awesome years in the middle of his career in 96 and 97 with the Steelers. Like, great years. After that, he did have 4 more years. We went over 1,000 yards, but like his yards per attempt, 3.2, 3.5, 3.8, 3.6, 3.8, 4.8, like fine. 3.6, 3.3, 3.8, 3.3, they put him in the Hall of Fame.
This is the first time I've truthfully cracked open the Pro Football Reference page of Jerome Bettis, I think, because I haven't had any reason to. I thought, so what year was this? 2005? I would have been 7 when that Super Bowl happened. I remember that Super Bowl very much. They played the Seahawks, right, in that Super Bowl?
Yes.
I thought he was way better. I was 7.
Jeez, I'm old, man. I was 17. I got.
Yeah. I thought that he was way better than just having 368 yards that season.
He was atrocious at that point. Like, this is why, like, he made 6 Pro Bowls. He was a 3-time All-Pro, 2-time first team. Like, don't get me wrong, like, he was a good player.
Yeah.
And he did rush for over 13,000 yards. Like, by the totality of his numbers, he's absolutely a Hall of Famer. But to me, it's like he ran the ball 3,500 times. Like,
yeah, he did.
Yeah. It's like the Frank Gore argument, right? Like, and like, we don't have to get into this because I'll be here for an hour. But like, Frank Gore played for 16 years and ran for exactly 16,000 yards. And people are going to be, you got to put him in. You got to put him in. No, I don't. Like, although I will tell you right now, I put him in over Jerome Bettis. Jerome Bettis averaged 3.9 yards per carry in his career, and Gore at least was at 4.3. And Gore, like, I would put Frank Gore in before I put in Jerome Bettis. Like, I'm not even the biggest, like, Frank Gore guy in the world because I feel like he's just going to haunt on forever.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
like, all right, you know what? Like, first of all, more total yardage, whatever. Like, he could also catch the ball, which Bettis couldn't do. Like, some of these guys, man, like, I'm going to piss off everybody watching right now by telling you, listen, I think Jamal Charles is one of the best running backs I've ever seen. But because of all the injuries, I think it's a hard case to put him in the Hall of Fame. Like, he ran for 7,500 yards in his career. I will tell you right now, unequivocally, that guy is absolutely in my Hall of Fame before Jerome Bettis and Frank Gore. Are you kidding me? Hey, who do you want for one game? You want Jamal Charles, who could break off 80 at any point? Or how do you feel about Jerome Bettis, who a long run for him is like 6th? I mean, are you kidding? And I'm not saying Jamal should get in because, like, to me, he just didn't do it for long enough. He really basically played like 5 full seasons. But, man, like, that guy, like, the talent, like, come on. It's not even close. Like, it just drives me nuts. We reward – baseball's famous for that. Like, did he play for 77 years? Yeah. Put him in. Like, no, I'll put him in. I don't put Julio Franco in the Hall of Fame. Like, but in some years, it was great for 6 years. What? I digress. I've lost the plot. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Last point on this. I want to move on because I was able to plug both Frank Gore and Jerome Bettis into the stat head comparison.
There you go.
Frank Gore has more games, more rushing attempts, more rushing yards, yards per attempt, less touchdowns, but more receptions, receiving yards per attempt, receiving touchdowns.
Correct.
Than Jerome Bettis.
Yeah, he's a better player.
Yeah.
And I don't even know that he should be in, but, like, yeah, Bettis would get out of here. By the way, Elijah Mitchell's deal just came out in terms of all the details for Aaron Wilson. It's 1 year, $2.5 million. His salary is $1.4 million. 1.1 of it's guaranteed. He has a lot of incentives in there. $44,000 per game active roster bonus, and then $1 million touchdowns, playtime, rushing yards incentives, and a $100,000 workout bonus. So, basically $1.4 million against cap.
Okay, that's fine.
Plus a $250 signing bonus. So, yeah.
Yeah, nothing too big there. Okay, let's talk about what the Chiefs have done, though, that kind of adds to it. Look, as I mentioned, not a whole lot of updates since the last time we talked. Obviously, Jalen Moore, that 2-year, $30 million deal. Christian Fulton, 2-year, $20 million deal. Elijah Mitchell, as you just mentioned, 1 year, 2.5, but the numbers that you just mentioned against the cap. Gardner Minshew, Robert Tonyan, re-signing Nick Bolton, Marquise Brown, James Winchester, Najee Johnson, and Jack Cochran. Also interesting, those two guys are costing $6 million together.
Yep.
Wild. They tendered Matt Ariza. They franchise tagged Trey Smith and traded Joe Tooney. Also, they officially announced a trade yesterday for Joe Tooney, and I said, the Chiefs did what? I thought that was really funny. Just there's somebody out there like on Facebook, probably not a listener to this podcast, obviously,
Right.
who didn't find out about the Joe Tooney trade until the Chiefs like made a post about it. It's like, holy, what happened?
It's like back in the day, and you were too young. God, do you even remember like times before the internet?
I mean, I remember 9/11.
Okay, the internet existed by 9/11.
So no, I don't remember times before the.
Okay, all right, great. I do, because I was born in 88. So, like, when I was a kid, I mean, I was little, but I do remember, like, when I was a kid, the way I learned about what the Chiefs did in the offseason, not living in Kansas City, was literally we'd go to Connecticut every summer and stay at my grandparents' cottage for like 4 days and go to the ocean. And I would buy a Street and Smith's magazine and look up, like, what they did. And you'd be going, oh, my God, they got Marcus Allen. Like, it was like you had like no idea what the hell was happening. And then like that's when I'd look up like their schedule, and you'd be like, "Oh man, they're predicted to finish second in the West," or like whatever. I had no concept of what was happening. Like I would look around the league in that magazine. The magazine was my Bible. To this day, I still buy one of those types of preview magazines every year as like a tradition.
Yeah.
Just because I've been doing it since I was a kid, even though now like I know all the information. And in one case, actually, one year I bought one and I wrote 2 of the articles. And I was like, still buying it. I don't care. Yeah, I will send you one for free. I'm like, no, I'm buying it. Like it's what I do. So yeah, I mean, but that was like how I found out about news back then. I had no idea, So yes, there are certainly people who are going to wake up in August and be like, oh my God, where is he?
Yeah, people gonna show up to training camp and be like, "Wait, who was that?"
Who the hell is Jalen Moore?
And honestly, hats off to those people. We are chronically online. If you are able to avoid that until the start of the regular season, I commend you for that. Also, they're kind of the same way about like the Phil Steele College Football magazine. I really like that one, the college football preview magazine that they put out. That's a good one that I like to look to as well. But again, we mentioned a couple of moves that they've done. Here's the thing too, Matt, and I think we talked about this when it happened, the Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones restructures. I think people saw like, oh, wow, $50 million in cap space. They're going to do a whole lot of moves. No, that's not how that worked. They had to do that so they were compliant to be able to sign a draft class and get some actual bodies in for camp. But like nothing, that was not made for like a ginormous move of any sort in terms of a contract restructuring. I don't know if the Chiefs have any more money to do anything else.
Yeah, they're about one move away from Clark Hunt sitting outside of a gas station with a cup, I think. He's like, hey, please. I think they're okay. At this point, to be fair to them, I mean they've spent a pretty good amount of money. I mean, when you factor in Trey Smith in the deal that's coming, they gave Nick Bolton $45 million. They gave Moore $30 million. They gave Christian Fulton $20 million. I mean at this point, they've probably done what they really needed to do. Like I don't know that you could argue they could sign another receiver. Certainly, you could argue they could use a body on the D line.
Interior or an edge, yeah, either way.
Yeah, I mean that could get good just to like cut down on their needs in the draft. Like at this point, do you not just circle back to a Menahoe?
I think you have to.
Like I would, right? At this point, like hey, you want 1 year and $10 million?
Josh Boucher signed before Charles Omenihu. How do you think 90 feels about that one?
Not great. I feel like there's a couple of tense conversations with him and his agent right now.
Oh,
like you told me like you get 3 and 50. He's like, yeah, listen, there's a decimal point in there. It's looking more like 3 and 5. Like if I were the Chiefs, I'd go and just do all 1 year.
That's insane. Anyway, yes,
that's not even men. Or like we can't afford it. Yeah, I mean, somewhere the Bengals are out there like, boy, when we get into void years, look out.
3-5 with 7 void years.
T. Higgins, how do you feel about 30 void years? Because we might be able to make it work if you don't take any guaranteed money. Like, now, if you're the Chiefs, do you offer like 1-8 with like incentives to like 12 or something?
Yeah, I think that's
reasonable at this point. Yeah, like,
do they have enough to do that? We'll see.
Yeah, we're gonna find out. But like maybe do something like that, and then a D tackle. I feel like just knowing the Chiefs, we're headed for like that announcement of like Derek Notty's back on a 1-year deal, and it's like, really? Is he really? Like I'd rather bring back Mike Donnell.
Yeah, I'd be okay with Mike Donnell. At least that's a run stuffing role type defensive lineman to play next to Chris Jones. They also don't have anyone to play next to Chris Jones right now.
Like literally, no.
Like, yes, like that's not even a joke. Like they do not have a
slide inside permanently at this point. Yeah,
yeah. I'm not joking. This is not hyperbolic. I know that we sometimes are hyperbolic on this podcast.
A little bit.
There's not anyone on the roster to play the second D-line spot. They can only do a 3-man front right now.
Spags is about ready to go into a 3-4 look. Okay, they don't have, and I'm not sure who the hell the fourth linebacker is. Is it Jack Cochran?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Golly, that drop off. We talked about that last year. Do you remember? It's just like, yeah, their linebackers are Drew Tranquil, Leo Chenal, Nick Bolden. If you get hurt, it is dark quick.
I gotta tell you, they're in the same spot still at corner.
Well, yeah, never mind. I changed my
dude, they are one pulled hammy away from like, here comes Joshua Williams. And then they show Spags, and Spags is just shoving like full handfuls of juicy fruit into his mouth. They need to draft another linebacker. They need to draft another corner. They need to invest in the old defense here in the depth, because yes, they are. This is not 2022 when they hit on that draft class where it was just like they could have 9 guys get hurt. It doesn't matter. Like they're so deep there. They're going to need some added depth. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. It's a good thing. What they need is what this draft is good for, but would prefer them not to actually need to rely on the draft pick that they draft in the first round to play 98% of the snaps like Chris Jones did last year. But you want production from your first round pick, double-edged sword, I guess. Anyway, let's talk about what the other teams in the AFC West have done. Specifically, I want to start. I think it'll be more fun to start with the Raiders, actually, because we were actually at the Combine, Matt, and we were at High Velocity, and I looked up at a TV, and I said, I forgot Pete Carroll was their head coach. And I saw him at a podium, and I was like, well, that's weird. So he's their head coach. They also have a new quarterback in Geno Smith as they trade for him. They signed Jeremy Chin, Alex Kappa to a 2-year, $11 million deal, Eric Stokes to a 1-year, $4 million deal, Landon Roberts to a 1-year, $3 million deal. This was recently they signed Raheem Mostert to a 1-year, $2.1 deal.
Landon Roberts has got to be, God, he's still playing?
Yeah, I mean, he's old. They also re-signed Malcolm Koons. That was a good move by them, and Adam Butler as well. And they're
only 30 somehow.
Did he come in when he was super young, I wonder?
Man,
because it does seem like he's been in the league for a long time.
Ever.
Yeah.
Remember when the Pats were so bad offensively, they had him playing fullback in a playoff game?
Yes.
They're like, Landon, get out there. We're going to throw it to you in the flat. That was a real thing that happened somehow.
Incredible. Yeah, he was. Yeah, how about that? He was drafted in 2016, is that what it says? Yeah, 2016 draft. Wow. So he must have been really young when he came out.
Crazy, man. God, I thought he was like 35 years old. Anywho. All right, so let's get into this. The Raiders. My honest to God, no BS. My general feeling on the Raiders is they're better because Geno Smith is clearly better than Minshew or Aiden O'Connell.
Yes.
But they're not good. They just, who's there that matters? Brock Bowers is obviously the big focal point on offense.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody else. Jacoby Myers, kind of, I guess. I don't know. Sure. Jacoby Myers is basically Hollywood Brown. He's fine if he's your third receiver. Maybe your second, but like it's like your first. It's a disaster. And then defensively, they lost Splain.
Yes.
They lost Diablo for whatever that matters to you. They lost Nate Hobbs, who was like legitimately their best corner. They're worse defensively. Like I don't know. Like are they not? To me, they're like a 6 to 7 win team, maybe. And and 7 feels generous. Like maybe like Pete Carroll gets them to 7. I just don't think. I think they're clearly the worst team in the division.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. And they also gave all the money in the world to Max Crosby as well. I forgot to mention that, but they gave him a lot of money. Yeah,
but I mean, other than Brock Bowers and Max Crosby, do they have any meaningful player on that team?
No. I'm not huge on Geno Smith either. I know there's a lot of like big Geno Smith guys. Like I think Geno he's fine.
He's better than what they had, but he's a guy.
I wouldn't trade for him.
And then apparently extend him, which is what they're all about now. Like
it's wild. Yeah, I do think that the Raiders are better just purely because their quarterback's better and their head coach is better, but that's not that was a very low bar to clear. I think when it comes down to that, I still think when you look at some of what these other teams have done in the division, like let's talk about the Denver Broncos. So I think the Denver Broncos have had a really good offseason defensively when talking about signing Talanoa Hufanga, a safety who was a real thorn in the Chiefs' sides in those Super Bowls. Very good. I'm really a big fan of Hufanga. They also signed another 49er, Dre Greenlaw, to a 3-year, $35 million deal. They had a 3-year, $45 for Talanoa Hufanga. They also signed Evan Ingram as well. I know, Sean Payton loves that like joker that he can use. He likes to talk about this joker, and that's going to be Evan Ingram for him. And they also signed Trent Sherfield as well. They did a couple re-signings with Jared Stidham, DJ Jones, and Justin Sternad as well. So thoughts on their offseason so far, Matt?
I think they did very well for themselves. Look, Greenlaw and Hufanga are both kind of the same guy in the sense, like, are they healthy? I mean, that's really the question, right? Like, Hufanga's been beat up the last 2 years. He was an all-pro, first-team all-pro in 2022.
Very good.
His talent is there, man. He's a really talented guy, but he's been beat up. He had torn ACL, and he's not been able to play much the last 2 years. Greenlaw, of course, famously got hurt in the Super Bowl, and he was coming off the sideline, and then came back last year, played 2 games, and had to shut it down again. So it's like, that one scares me more just in the sense he's older and like that Achilles injury, man. Sometimes it's sad. It's unfortunate. Like sometimes that's it. Like, he's just not the same guy anymore. We'll see. But I like the signings. I mean, 3 years for both guys is a little bit like that would be the only drawback I'd have of it. Like maybe I would like tried to keep it at 2, but okay. Both guys are very talented. Both guys fill a need, even though they're very good defensively last year. They were not great at safety or linebacker. So those are good signings by Denver. The Ingram one, I just don't have a problem with. Like, listen, he's a guy in the right offense. He could have 700-800 yards. Like, I don't think he's great. I don't think he's even like typically a Pro Bowl player, although he has made the Pro Bowl. But they need weapons. They need somebody other than Cortland Sutton, and he provides that. So I like it. Look, Denver to me is kind of the wild card in the AFC. What is Bo Nix? Like, is Bo Nix going to be a guy who, like, kind of follows the Mac Jones path where first year comes in, plays pretty well, but, like, you're kind of, like you're, like, appreciative of what he can do, but kind of underwhelmed overall. Like, yeah, I don't know that this guy is going to be, like, a star. And then the league kind of caught up, and it was like, all right, yeah, this guy's just, like, he's whatever. Or does he, ascend? Now, the sounds like I'm making fun of him. I'm really not. Like, he came to the league at 25 years old. So you do wonder, like, is he already at his ceiling?
Right.
And that's kind of a question teams ask themselves if they're drafting the guy that's 24, 25. But I think Denver did a nice job. I think Denver's a playoff team as long as Knicks doesn't completely regress. I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender. I don't. But I think they're a team that can make the playoffs and have a little bit of upside to them.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to put it. They filled needs, what they needed to in this offseason, and it'll it'll at least be interesting, especially with the competent head coach, and now that they're kind of molding it towards the direction that coach wants to have the identity for this team. You kind of see the same thing with the Chargers going on. I think you're kind of seeing now this Chargers team kind of shift their identity more towards what their head coach wants them to have in the second year that he's been on there. Because in free agency, they signed Dante Jackson, the Chargers do, Najee Harris to a 1-year deal, $9.25 million up to. They they signed him, but Mike Williams is back on their team.
Yes.
That's what I should say. 1-year deal up to $6 million. Deshaun Hand and Naquan Jones, couple interior defensive linemen there on some 1-year deals. And Benjamin St. Just a 1-year deal, which a guy that I would have been okay with the Chiefs signing. I think that would have been a good signing for them. This is obviously prior to the Fulton. I think Fulton's better than St. Just is. They also re-signed Khalil Mack to a 1-year, $18 million deal. Taylor Heineke, T.R. Tart, which a guy I kind of wanted in Kansas City. Troy Dye, Denzel Perryman, a lot of defensive re-signings there. And also Jalen Rieger as well. They extended Elijah Molden and Bradley Bozeman and their punter J.K. Scott. And they released Joey Bosa, who is now with the Buffalo Bills, and Gus Edwards as well. They have a kind of a new look offense there for them as they are trying to build more towards the Harbaugh mold of football playing.
I don't think any team had a more underwhelming offseason than them. That is I think the Bengals and the Cowboys are fighting for that mantle as well.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are the Chargers doing? I don't get it. So you let Asante Samuel Jr. leave, who's better than any corner you brought in. I get he had a shoulder injury and played 4 games this year. The guy's a good player. Like, I don't get it. Dante Jackson is not even as good as Christian Fulton is. Like, why not just re-sign Christian Fulton? I've seen people with the Chargers be, well, he fell off the end of the year. I get it. It's fine. I'd rather have Christian Fulton than Dante Jackson. But, like, even if you want to call it a wash, okay, fine, sure, whatever. But, like, you brought back Mac, okay. You cut Bosa. That's fine. Yeah. Bosa's cooked, I think, physically.
I do too.
They were. I'm having a brain glitch. They were the ones who lost Poona Ford, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So they lose Poona Ford, who is better than any defensive player that they signed. And they brought back Mike Williams for reasons that remain unclear. To quote the great Bill Simmons, why? Like, yeah. What were they like looking at the phone last year, going, "Damn, gotta bring it." I mean, here's a stat line you'll never see again. He played. Actually, let me lead the other way here. He caught 21 passes for 298 yards and 2 touchdowns. Played in 18 games because he got traded and he never had a bye week. Okay, wow. And he still couldn't crack 300 yards. And the Chargers are like, bring him in for $6 million. Like, I just, if I'm Herbert, I'm drinking Clorox right now. Like, what are we doing? So Dobbins comes in, has this great year. They're like, nah, let him go so we can bring in Najee Harris, who's not good, which is why the Steelers were like, that's fine, get out. Jalen Warren's been a better running back than Najee Harris the last 2 years running. Yep. So he leaves to go to the Chargers. They lose Dobbins. They have no meaningful tight end. In a year where there's 8,000 guards, they were like, and they can't block anybody on the interior. Like, they have great tackles, but their interior is awful. They didn't sign anybody. They just sat there and like, that's cool. No, we're good. Okay, great. You assume, everyone in the world assumed, like, okay, they have McConkey, but they have nobody else who can catch a pass. Like, going to add a guy. They let Joshua Palmer go.
Yep.
And then did nothing to replace him. They're worse. They're worse than they were a year ago. They're worse. Like, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm like, great, McDuffie's on McConkey. They're scoring 3 points.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm going to give you a hot take I've been marinating on since he hit the season.
Here we go.
And I think I'm going to write it. I'm going to piss off every Charger fan, all 9 of them. Look, is Jim Harbaugh, like, just not a good fit for the current day NFL? Like, I understand they won, whatever it was, 10 games last year. I get it. I understand all that. They went to the playoffs and played a Texans team that is not good and got smoked by the Texans, who then summarily went to Kansas City and gave up 87 sacks. Okay? Like, the Chargers benefited last year from playing a last-place schedule. They beat absolutely nobody. Like, go back and look at who they beat. They beat nobody the entire season. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and bet that this year they regress pretty significantly, barring a great draft class. Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman, I'm not saying they don't know ball. Like, they know more about football than I ever will, but like, are we sure that they're a great combination to coach your football team in 2025?
I think it's a great question to ask.
Like, feels like they're more like, hey, man, like in 2010, awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, like, I just feel like this doesn't work. Like, if that Niners team with Harbaugh, now that team was loaded. That team was talented, out of its mind talented. But, like, does that team with Alex Smith, like, does it go to the Super Bowl? Like, the way they play now? Like, probably not. Like, I don't, maybe I'm wrong. Like, they were super talented, to be fair to them. And I think that's kind of also to my point, though, like, that Niners team was insanely talented. This Chargers team is not. I just wonder, like, yeah, you can run the ball like that all day long at Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And when you had that kind of talent with the Niners, sure, man, play however you want. But, like, you don't have that with the Chargers.
Right.
You have, like, I am dubious to how well this is actually going to work out. Like, I don't think he's going to be awful with them. Obviously, they made the playoffs last year, but I think everybody waiting for them to just take off and win 14 games. I think you're going to be waiting a while. I don't think they're good. And I think they feasted on a last place schedule last year. And when they played anybody good, they got their doors blown off. And I think this year they're going to go into the season with a worse roster. And I don't even think they're going to be second place in the AFC West. I think Denver's better than them.
It's going to be a race for last, I think, with the Raiders and the Chargers.
I think the Raiders are going to win that race comfortably. But I just don't believe in the Chargers at all. I just don't. Also, you know, look, we don't have to keep going here, but like, how good is Justin Herbert?
Right. That's a valid question. We're just assuming that he's really good because he had that really good rookie year. So we just keep saying, like, oh, Justin Herbert's an elite quarterback. How is he elite? He's lost playoff games. He's played bad in both of those playoff games. I mean, I don't know. He's not. I don't. He's not as good as everyone wants to make him out to be.
It's like, look, man, I get it. Like, oh, he threw 23 touchdowns and 3 picks. Great. He hasn't thrown more than 25 touchdowns in 3 years. Like, cool, man. Like, you know, I'm not saying he's not a good player. He's clearly a good player. He's made the Pro Bowl 1 time in 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I just kind of, he kind of feels to me like Stafford, but like Stafford for years, you looked at him and he put up numbers and like, you're like, yeah, man, he just like can't win. They went to the Rams and he won. Part of me wonders with Herbert, is that going to be the like path he follows, where he's just with the Chargers for 10 years, they can't do anything, and then they trade him to like Pittsburgh. He immediately wins the Super Bowl, and Tomlin and Herbert like ride off into the sunset together. Like, it's just like, all right, that's it. I just at some point, if you're going to be that like upper tier guy, you got to win big games. Like, are you ever, if Herbert's got the ball 2 minutes left, you're like, oh God, it's Herbert.
No.
Like, oh, it's Herbert. Like, yo, you're probably going to win this game. Like, I don't know. Doesn't feel the same as like an Allen, a Mahomes, a Lamar, a Burrow. Like, doesn't feel the same guy.
Right. All right, that's our AFC West recap. When we get back on the other side, we're going to power rank college beers. College beers are going to power rank, wrap up the show with that. So if you don't want to sit through that, you can now, here's your cue. Here's your cue to leave. Appreciate you listening, but you're going to want to stay tuned. On the other side, we'll be back right after this.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.
All right, Matt, let's close this podcast out with a bang. We're going to power rank college beers. I texted you yesterday A simple text message of what do you want to power rank? You sent back a simple text message of college beers, and I said, absolutely. Absolutely. So, sir, since this was your idea, I want you to lead us off with your number 5.
Okay. So, number 5 to me is a beer that is disgusting, but just has to be around at all times, and that is Natty Ice.
The ice. Okay.
Yeah, ice. Yeah. It's there for you in a drastic moment of need. Like when your buddy didn't go out and get the 30 rack that you told him to go get because he's broke and stupid. You know, you get that Bud Light, you get that Miller. Like, oh man, oh my God, we got a pregame. Like, oh, we still got that Natty Ice. Like, oh yeah, nobody's touched that. Like, all right, break it out. That's my number 5. It's just there for you when you need it.
That's a good call. I'm excited to see how we interpreted this too. I think we might have interpreted this 2 different ways.
Okay.
But I do as my number 5. I have Natty Light at number 5 as well. They went back to the vintage cans, which is really cool. I do like that, but it still doesn't make me want to buy Natty Light and drink it. But in college, I was even like, oh, this stuff is not good. And I was like that in college. Now that I am an adult, there's no way I'd be caught dead drinking a Natty Light. What do you got for number 4?
Number 4, Keystone Light.
Yeah, that's solid.
It's just again, like it's just you go to a party, you see Keystone, you're like, all right, the party's gonna be all right. You know, it's not gonna be great. It's gonna be all right. I always appreciate too that you could never find actual Keystone. There's always Keystone Light.
Yes.
One time in my life, I found Keystone. It came in a red box, and my buddy had sent out for Keystone, and I found it, and I was like, this would be hilarious. So I bought it and gave it to him, and he was like, what the fuck is this? I was like, it's what you wanted. It's Keystone. He almost fought me. He was so pissed. He's like, go back, get the actual Keystone. I'm like, no, it's just Keystone. You said Keystone. You didn't say Keystone Light. And it was the only time I ever found it. But yes, Keystone Light with a bullet for.
I remember their ads that they used to have as smooth as Keith Stone. Yeah, no, that's were good. That's how I was introduced to Keystone Light, was smooth as Keith Stone. Number 4, I've got porch beers. I think nothing beats just having a beer with your buddies on the porch, 65, 70 degree day. You had class but are skipping it currently, but you're sitting on a porch in the middle of the week drinking a beer with your buddies. Like, there's nothing better. Well, there is, I guess, 3 things better that I have on my list than just sitting on a porch and drinking a beer with your buddies.
Just knowing you're skipping a class that doesn't have an attendance policy.
Yep, 100%.
Right, here we go. Not even using one up. Doesn't matter.
Number 3.
Number 3. I didn't realize we were going that route, but yeah, you know what? Then screw it. I'll toss out number 3. I'll go your way here. Beer shower.
Yeah,
beer shower is just fantastic. Nothing gets you ready for going out at night like having a Bud Light while you're trying to shower up. You know, because you're running out of time to both shower and pregame, and you've got to combine the 2. Had many a shower beer over the years, and honestly, after this podcast, I might just go do it. No, go do it. Grab a line of Coog, grab a Coog, and go knock one down. See, but now, like when you're 20 and you do that, it's cool. I'm 36 now. My wife walked in the house. I was drinking a line of Coog on the shower. She's like, "All right, you're going to a meeting."
Yeah. Are you okay?
It's a different connotation, but yeah, shower beer number 3.
See, this is why I like power rankings, because if you just throw out the topic, it can be interpreted so many different ways, and I think that's I think that's kind of how the beauty of power rankings is, interpreting them differently to see how the person interprets them. And number 3, I just have cold. I mean, when you're in college, you listen to this cold. Yeah, look.
Oh, my beer cold.
You don't care what it is. You want it cold. You want it on ice. That's number 3 for me. There's still two more that I think are better than cold, but cold, I think is a good middle point for me.
Okay. All right. Good. It's good to have standards.
Yes.
So I'll go back to the beer. Number 2, for me was Bud Light. Man, I drank more Bud Light than I like to even imagine at this point in my life. And for the record, number 3 is going to be Yingling, which is a East Coast beer. It's kind of making its way out in the Midwest. But yeah, that was like a classy beer. We had that like once a year. We couldn't afford it otherwise. But Bud Light Bud Light was the beer we always got. Like that was just if you went out like 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get a 30 rack of Bud Light for like $18.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys did this, but like we would cut out. I mean, it's maybe it's the mark of truly needing help. We would cut out the side of the 30 rack, like the box, and we tape it up like a border on top of the door. Okay, yeah, all right, thank God, so it wasn't just us. We were like just going rings around the room by the time we got to May. Yeah, it was great. It was great.
Yeah, no, that is you create your own wallpaper with the 30 racks that you have demolished. Number 2, I've got free. Any beer that's free and you're in college, I mean, you're gonna take it. That we were penny pinching, even though that you had like all kinds of great deals that I wish I could go back and like take advantage of. But I remember thinking like, wow, this is so much money. And now I'm just like, wow, that was such a great deal. But free beer, you could never beat it. Still in my days today, I'll still take a free beer. I don't care what kind of beer it is. If it's free, I'll drink.
Free. If it's free, it's great.
Yeah.
All right, like number 1 for me, this isn't even close. I don't know if I've had this beer since college, but it's Rolling Rock, man.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
You know, when the ladies were coming over, we had guys. Listen, we got to put away the Bud Light. Like we got to step up here because we actually like these girls. That was when we went out and got the old green bottle, got the old 33, the Rolling Rock. And that was that beer was a good combination of cheap but also like not terrible. So we would go. I remember that always seemed to be something we got in bottles. We never got that in cans, so we'd go out and get like whatever the hell it was, like like 5-6 packs or something. And it was that was a beer that when we broke out the Rolling Rock, that was like the college version of wearing a tie to a date. It was like, all right, hey, just so you know, you matter to me. I didn't just go out and get Keystone.
Right.
It's in a bottle, for God's sakes. Like, here we are. Welcome to 416. That was It was a meaningful beer.
I love it. I want to give a couple honorable mention shout outs to some brands before I get to my number 1. Obviously, we gotta shout out PBR, Platts Blue Ribbon. I think I've got an uncle that still drinks PBR, and like he doesn't need to be drinking he's got enough money. He doesn't need to be drinking anything other than PBR. He still drinks PBR for the love of the game, and I do appreciate
and loyal.
it. Yeah, I appreciate it. Milwaukee's Best. We got to give a shout out to Milwaukee's Best.
God.
It's not good.
Brad.
What's the job done? Hams. Got to give a shout out to Hams as well. I forget about Hams every now and again. But yes, I think those are the ones that I want to give a shout out to. Yes. That might be more East Coast, I think, but I have heard of that one.
Oh
no, it's in Milwaukee.
Drinks it, but it's like 1,000 years old. Yeah,
yeah. It's from Milwaukee. I didn't know that. I drink a lot of Coors now, both Coors Heavy, Coors Banquet, and Light. Coors Light. That's my poison of choice. But number 1, you know what? This is still a number 1 for me now. I think my number 1 college beer is the next one. The next one is always the best one in my opinion.
I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to the damn next one until I black out.
Yeah, that might be a sign. But number 1, the next one.
God, I didn't hear no bell.
That's how we roll. All right,
that's awesome. That's
any honorable mentions from you? Did we hit on all the ones?
Yeah, I know we had all the we had the Busch Light,
Lone Star. I just saw Lone Star on my Google.
Wow. Okay, yeah,
I forgot about Lone Star.
I mean, Busch Light was one that like a lot of people had. PBR. So I knew a girl. I'll say dated this girl that like she would get like a picture of PBR. She was hilarious. But like, yeah, I mean,
wild.
Yeah, awesome. I won't shout her out by name. Probably doesn't want to be associated with me or that memory. It was those would be the ones that definitely stand out. Like, then just straight up Budweiser.
Yeah,
like whatever, sure, fine. Miller, like my God,
we did talk about Miller Lite.
The High Life. Like, I had a contract with the High Life.
Really?
They did a commercial where you could like mail something in, and they would mail you a contract and attach like $1 bill to it, and like you signed it, and it was like you were only drinking the High Life from there on out. And I actually, with my buddy, we thought it was hilarious, and we mailed in. And like a month later, they sent us contracts with $1 bills attached to them. I still have it somewhere at my parents' house.
That's
like,
incredible.
It was like, Matt Verderame, you're going to be drinking, you're going to be living with the high life, blah, 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 blah. I was like 18. I couldn't even drink. It was great. I just wanted $1. I was broke. But the high life, MGD, excuse me. Like, oh, yeah, I mean, those beers, but, man, like Rolling Rock, Line and Kugel, or not Line and Kugel, Rolling Rock and Yingling were the beers that, like, you really were breaking out the big guns.
Yeah.
Those. Now I'm just drinking Cougs.
Yeah.
Big shandy guy.
They've got some good shandies with Line and Kugel. Is that they're in Wisconsin?
I'm in my older age, man. I like a shandy. I like a cider. And I like liquor. Like, I'm not, like, if I drink Bud Light, I've got to have like 10 of them. Because otherwise, like, there's
right.
So, yeah, I kind of go the shandy cider. I'm weak now. I don't know.
And then you feel like super full and bloated because you just basically drank 4 loaves of bread.
30 pounds, yeah.
Yeah. That's what's tough about it. But I'm a very avid fan of Coors. Just really everything that Coors Light, Coors Banquet. I love the stubby bottles too. I didn't drink stubby bottles in college. That was until I graduated. I moved to the stubby bottles. But I was definitely putting down some Bud Light. So you think
Red Stripe?
Stripe. Holy cow.
The cow bread. They used to have those commercials that one guy could. By the way, as we close on this hilarious quote, which Underdog tweeted out. Myles Garrett on remaining with the Browns. Speaking of needing to drink beer. Quote, I think the fans will see my heart is in the right place. It's never been about money. It's always been about winning. And on that note, everybody, thanks for watching KCSN at Football Show.
Just lying. I mean, he's just lying. That's gonna do it for that football show.
Man.
I mean,
you know what? I was gonna leave because I'm so done with this shit. But then they paid me $160 million. I was like, all right.
Absolutely lying to everybody. How stupid does he think we are? Whatever. That's gonna do it for that football show. We'll talk to you guys next week.